Welcome to the very, very first. I'm very excited, but our very first Chaiibucks chat. It's going to be a podcast. We're not 100% sure on the details of it as yet, but we're going to go with the floor. But I'm excited to say it's the three of us, the three amigos, the Birdie Boys. I'm joined by Mr. Sharafat Shah, who is top left, and Mr. Yasser Sufi, who is on the bottom of on my screen today. But this podcast is going to be a little bit different each week. We've got some hot topics to talk about. We're going to be talking all things that are relevant in the news. But it all started from having a little bit of a chai, as it's called, which is for any British white people out there, it's a cup of tea. We have often meet for a curry and a chai. And I think it was was it you that said a British Pakistani, a British Indian, and a British white man walk into a chai shop, and this is the result. So, welcome, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, Phil. But is this your chai shop then?
Yeah, we'll have my chai shop today. I'll let you two deal with it then from this point on.
What's your chai shop called?
Chaiibucks. I'm stealing your name, mate. I'm stealing your name.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So just on what you introduced me as, British Indian, I'm not so sure about that because personally, like Shaz, I know Shaz is a lot more proud, obviously, with his British Pakistani roots. But personally, my dad moved to Africa when he was 9 months, and my mum grew up in Africa as well. So I know my heritage is Indian. But when I grew up, I used to tell everyone that I was half African, half Indian, and half Portuguese. So I'll have that one because my mum spoke Portuguese in Mozambique. So I'll go with that. I'll go with that one instead.
Well, it sort of ruins the intro to the show, but go on, I'll let you have it. Shaz,
Thanks,
are you all right with your intro?
I'm fine with my British Pakistani heritage. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Good.
Simple.
So, let's kick off. We are in the holy month of Ramadan. And as you two will be fully aware, and anybody else who knows me that listens to this, I've also joined you this month for the whole month, fasting. I'm sure you've both got a lot of questions for me over the course of the last 25, I think we are today. We're 25 in. I think this is day 25. I'll be day 24 or 25. I have as well, to be fair, mate. But why don't you fill us in? Just what is Ramadan? What's it all about? What is it to you? What's the ins and outs of it? How did it come about? And what's the meaning to you? Because I'm also with the different heritages and different backgrounds, you'll both have a different or slightly different take on it. Yes, why don't you kick us off?
So just to correct, something you just said, you said you've joined us, and a lot of people do join in. But one thing you forgot to mention, I think, unless it wasn't as clear, but you've joined us for the full 30 days, haven't you?
I have.
And I think that, honestly, mate, deserves, first of all, class. So, and you've joined in the spirit of the whole thing as well. So there's one element which is the fasting side, so when you say what does Ramadan mean to us, one of the things I always personally think is Ramadan is something we look forward to the whole year. And a lot of people will say, why do you look forward to starving yourself? And the reason for that is we're not starving ourselves at all, even though we're staying hungry all, more or less for the full day for 16 hours currently. For me, Ramadan has been always a lot more than that. It's not about just not eating. It's about spending time with family. It's about connecting with the local mosque that we go to. It's about connecting to people at the mosque. It's about shared experience. So this is a perfect example. Me, you, Phil and Shaz sharing something together, and it brings us closer together. So Ramadan has always been a lot more than just keeping myself hungry. And that's where I always think a lot of people who don't know about it, don't get it. It's, are you hungry? Are you thirsty? We're not hungry. We're not thirsty. We're actually loving it. We're actually loving the 30 days. And now we're on day 25. It actually starts bringing in a tinge of sadness where we start thinking we're at the end of it. We're going to miss it. Are we going to be there to see it next year? Are we going to, be as fortunate? So that's what it's always meant to me. But but I must say, absolute privilege, mate, for you to join us this month. And I can't say enough how much that means to someone and how much that means to a lot of people who've reached out to me just to say, wow, what an amazing thing Phil's doing. So I do want to go into a bit deeper as well as part of this first ever Chaiibucks show.
Go on, Shaz. Are you any different to that?
Well, no, but I'd like to add to what Phil's Yasser just said as well. Ramadan is about finding yourself. Ramadan is about getting closer to your creator. Ramadan is about togetherness. Ramadan is about family. And it's not about starving yourself, as what Yasser says. Yeah, all right, for the first few fasts, you do get hungry, you do get thirsty, but your body's an amazing thing. It gets used to anything you put it through, right? And we'll probably touch on this later on, Phil, when we ask you questions about it. But it's about doing things together as a family and as friends and bringing everybody together. Like Phil, when we had an iftar at my house, and it's a big family thing. When you were Yas came, we had one at your school as well, and that was an old. I mean, there were people there that you've never seen before, and they're coming together for one purpose, and they're coming together. And I was talking to people with you that I've never met before, and we were like talking to them as if we've known them for a long, long time. So I suppose it's a little bit like Christmas as well, where it's a togetherness thing, it's a family thing. So yeah, that's in addition to what Yasser said, that's my take on Ramadan as well.
Just to add to that as well, just on the religion, and I didn't really delve into the religious side of it, but Phil, you're probably aware of this as well. There's 5 pillars in Islam, and it is one of the fundamental pillars of the faith. So obviously we do it because we are told we have to do it as adults. There are obviously some people, and we can speak about Shaz obviously as well, but there are some people who could be, depending on medication, depending on illness, etc., where they don't have to do it, but it's something that we don't do out of choice. It's obviously a massive part of the faith, as well as the 5 obligatory prayers, as well as the pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia, doing the Hajj, as well as giving money to charity. And I know you're doing this for charity, so that's an massively important within the month of Ramadan, especially. So it's a fundamental part of our faith.
So go on. You've just touched on that there. What are they? Is it just adults? Can kids get involved? I know I'll talk to you about it later. My youngest son's been involved in a few. What are the exemptions that might make somebody not take part?
There's quite a few. So, for example, one of the most common is when a woman's taking part and she's going through a menstrual cycle. Women don't have to fast during that period. Illness obviously is a massive one. Traveling, if you're traveling longer distances. But one thing you have to bear in mind is when you say you don't do it, you always have to make those up at some point. So you actually feel, when I know a lot of women who do miss their fast, they actually feel a tinge of sadness that they're not taking part as part of Ramadan and they're having to do it at another time. So and then in terms of children, you mentioned that. I know Henry, your son, he's age 9, isn't he? And I'd love to hear about why he's doing it. But a lot of the time, children just see their parents doing it and want to do it, but they don't actually have to do it until they reach the age of puberty. So that's when they have to start fasting. But a lot of children as young as 7, 8, and 9 see their parents doing it and want to take part because of that. And Henry's a great example of that.
Yeah, so he did appear on 6 occasions at the start when obviously half term we've been on. It's sort of thrown him a little bit, but his best friend has been taking part, Sufyan, as you all know now. And yeah, Henry appeared at the door 6 times, I think, at the kitchen door at 4 o'clock in the morning to take fasts with us. So he's done 6 out of the 25 so far. I've not asked him yet, but as school is back on tomorrow, I'm wondering if he might be finishing them with us. But I'll ask him that later.
He's done 6 full fasts.
6 full fasts, yeah, this time.
Wow. And a lot of that for me will be the fact that he's got a dad who's doing it, and obviously he's got a role model, as you say. Obviously he's got a friend who's doing it, and that's great to see. He actually went for one iftar at a friend's house as well, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He went to his friend's grandma's.
Class.
How did you find that?
Brilliant, yeah. He loves it. He's quite open-minded with stuff. Is Henry, and he does like to get involved with things and try things and understand from different perceptions on how the world works and how other people see things. He's quite. I think that's more and more. I think we see that nowadays out of kids, don't we?
Yeah,
but it's certainly not a bad.
We know why Henry's doing it. Why are you doing it, mate?
Yeah, a little bit of everything, really. Yeah, so you've probably just mentioned there's a little bit of understanding what you guys have been going through for how long I've known you. I know we've done the odd day with various groups in the past, but it's certainly nothing like the 30. Just doing one. Raising money for some charities, two different charities. I think it's been a bit of a challenge, something that I'm not used to, because as you two know, I gave up smoking and alcohol 2 and 3 years ago. So food is the only vice I've got left, really. So to take food out of the equation for me has been massive. But actually, it's been quite an interesting last 25 days, I think.
When did you first think I'm going to do the full 30 days, and what made you? Was it something in particular, or was it just I fancy doing this? Why not give it a go?
Yeah, it was more that than anything else. Like for the last 2 years we've done a day, haven't we? Or I've done a day with you, and it over the course of probably the last year building up to this time's Ramadan, I've been thinking, yeah, we should really do all 30, and obviously other friends as well that have said, join, do all 30 with us. And this is the year that I just thought, yeah, do you know what? If we're gonna have a go, let's have a go. And and here we are, 25 days in.
So Phil, just tell us about how you felt in your first fast, or even your second fast, and then tell us how you feel now and how you felt during the middle part of the Ramadan journey that you've been on.
Yeah, no problem. The first one I sort of knew what to expect, purely because of the days that we've done in the past. I don't think you can ever prepare for the headache, though, in those last 2 or 3 hours, because that is just something so uncomfortable. And the only thing you want to do is have a glass of water. The food's never been an issue, really. There are days that I felt hungry, but the hunger goes fairly quickly if you manage to occupy your mind with something else. It sort of drifts, does that? If anything's going to get you, it's the thirst and the sleep. So it obviously does disrupt your sleep pattern as well. I was the first probably 15 days, or if not, maybe 12 or 13, actually. I think day 13 we both missed morning, didn't we? Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that those first 12 days especially, I was waking up at, I don't know, 10 to 4 o'clock, going down, eating something. And you find yourself forcing food down, I think. Both food and water, which becomes uncomfortable. But for the last probably week and a half, I've literally got up in the morning to have a couple of glasses of water and then gone back to bed. And yeah, I felt better. Probably, I think I've survived these last few. But then again, you're getting used to it now. We're nearly at the end, and I'm feeling like I'm now worried about trying to transfer back to eating and drinking all the time. I don't know how people get the pure amount of food and drink in that they do over the course of a day.
That transition, though, is that once Ramadan's finished, after Eid, after Ramadan, you've got 30 days of controlling your intake, and then Eid is like the English Christmas, where the day actually revolves around family and friends and food, and lots of it. So you go from it's feast to famine, really. So you have your famine and then you have your feast, right? And your body says, hang on a minute, whoa, what is going on here, right? You almost feel really bad, right? Because you're eating during the day. And then you say to yourself, no, actually, I'm all right. Ramadan's over, right? But it does take a few days to get used to eating when you want. But this just goes to show, though, right, that it's not eating between sunrise and sunset. It's not as bad as it sounds. Maybe for a while, for you, Phil, drinking was an issue, and drinking probably is an issue for most people, right? But as far as food concerned, your body actually, like I said before, gets used to it, right? Gets used to having one big meal or two meals on either side of the day. You know, my family, that was a lot of the time, the main fast, which is the first one, the last one, everybody gets up and does the what we call a seri. But then after that, because everybody's got work and whatever, you got to work at 8 o'clock and things like that. It's sometimes not practical to get up in the morning, to eat, do your prayers, and then go back to bed and then wake up again at 8 o'clock. Sometimes it's not practically possible to do that. So what they do is they cut the eating bit out. They just have as much water as they can drink, right? Do the other obligations and then just go back to bed. And that probably takes all of 10, 15 minutes, right? That's it.
Yeah. And that's the bit, I think that's the bit I think, Phil, from your perspective, where even though obviously you are depriving yourself of food and drink, I'm really, you know, I'm making sure that at some point you're coming to the mosque with me as well, because for me personally, Ramadan has been, since I was a kid, it's been spent in the mosque, a lot of it, and it's that, you know, sense of community within the mosque itself as well. A lot of the experience within the month is people coming together. And Shaz, something that you said to us when we went for a round of golf a couple of weeks ago, in terms of your family, is I think you said that it's the time where you all come together to eat together quite regularly, and that's
Correct.
a big part of it, isn't it?
Correct. Yes. Because normally, you know, in this day and age, you all work different times and what have you, and you don't often get time to have your meals together. And having meals together as family is a big thing. And that's the other thing, you know, Ramadan brings that together and brings you together as well. And you're having meals because you're all having a meal at the same time, because you have to. You drop everything else and you do that, and you have a meal together, like we did when you guys came round as well. You know, it was fantastic. So
we've done a few iftars together now. We've got one left at Phil's beloved Blackburn Rovers, but we've done a few. But one of my favourites from this month was the one we actually went to at Phil's, the school that Henry goes to. What a beautiful experience that was, where communities coming together, people actually from all walks of life sharing bread together. And that, for me, in what you're doing, Phil, as well, is so, you know, it's to be admired, where people actually forget about what separates us, what the things that we're, you know, different about us, but we actually share that experience together. And I want to ask you one thing as well, is, are you feeling the same way we're feeling, in the sense where you're thinking, I'm coming to the end of it now, I'm going to miss it, it's going to be a bit weird going into just being back to normal life, as it, you know, as we call it? Is there an element of that at the moment, or is it just a case of can't wait to get stuck in?
Thank God for that. Thank God it's over.
Yeah.
There's a bit of both, to be fair, I think. Because from day one, I think I've counted down the days, thinking this is going to end. This is going to end soon. Here we go. We know we're knocking them off. But then there is a bit of a, I don't know if it's a sadness, but there's certainly a feeling of this is going to be strange. Being able to flip the kettle on as and when I want, you know, get up and have a brew in the morning. It's, you know, and that is the big takeaway, I think, from this for me, is that we as a species, I think we revolve everything around food and drink. No matter what we do, there's always some sort of food and drink involved. And you know, I went down to my sister's, was it last weekend or the weekend before? I think it was last weekend. You know, and she goes, "Oh, we can't go out because we can't even have a brew." And I went, "Well, you can. You know, it's no big deal for." "No, well, I wanted to go to this place, then we could have had a bit of lunch." I'm like, again, you can. You know, just do what you need to do. And, you know, I get it's me that's fasting, not anybody else. I'm not asking anyone to stop eating. I'm not asking anyone to stop drinking in front of me. but the amount of things that we do, and even like during a work day, everything is set between getting into work, making yourself a cup of tea, doing a bit of work, waiting for your first break to, and having a bit of a snack and a drink, getting to lunchtime, having lunch, and being in that communal environment, and and eating together, and again having a glass of water and a brew. 3:30, 4 o'clock, and you think, oh, or getting home from work, I'll just have a quick snack before I put tea on. And there's so many pit stops in a day that are food and drink related that I genuinely now think we don't even need them. We don't need that much food or that much water to do anything. I don't understand how we've got to that point, but that I think that's the biggest takeaway I think that I've got out of it. And yeah, back to your question, there's not a sadness, I don't think, but there's a weird feeling there's a weird feeling about having to go back into that normality, I think, which I didn't think I'd have. I thought I'd be really excited to just get get involved again, but no, I think there's a little bit of trepidation, I think, about also as well, I've lost about a stone over this process, which, hands up, I needed to do. So now I'm panicking about starting eating again all the time. I'm just going to end up like.
I don't think I've ever once lost weight in Ramadan, honestly. But I think this month I'm doing all right. But usually, and I think it's a bit of a running joke where we're the only species that fasts for 16 hours a day but still maintain weight or put weight on. Do you know what I mean? And it's weird that, but unfortunately, we've lost an element of it. And I think because it's quite new to you, you're actually retaining some of what should be for us, where what Shaz said is the evening meal is becoming a bit of a feast, whereas the month in Ramadan shouldn't be about that. It shouldn't be about eating as much as you want. It should be about, and I've said it to you a million times, don't swear in the month, don't do this, don't do that, because it is about kind of trying to be as better human being as you can be. We all do a lot of wrong throughout the year, and this is the month where it's a little bit of a reset button to try and kind of be a better person. And it's always been a month where you really, really, like Shaz said, you self-reflect, you look at what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, what you could be doing better, and you actually start. I remember COVID, I think it was when Ramadan, where you and Azar were out distributing food to people, and it gives you that month where you start thinking, I want to do things for other people. I want to, contribute in whatever way I can. So it has so many different meanings that a lot of people, I don't think, comprehend. I don't think people really get to the bottom of it. And one of the things, Phil, just to finish on that, is one of the things I've been asked a lot is, you don't drink, you don't smoke, you've got a pretty decent beard. So
I know where this is going.
Right. You're a better Muslim than most of us, right? So one of the things that honestly, my followers on social media have said it to me a million times over is he's a better Muslim than most of us. And honestly, I feel that as well. So I know I've said it before, but credit to you for what you're doing. But when are you coming to the mosque with me? And actually, that just reminded me, it triggered something. You actually were given a gift at that iftar we went to, weren't you?
I was, yeah.
Just tell us a bit about that.
So I didn't know what they were, but it's Shabazz from a company called Building Bridges over here in Pendle that looks at trying to link communities together of various colour, creed, and do a lot of good work in the area. Just collared me and said, "Oh, I've got you a bit of a gift," and it was in a bit of a passing moment as well, really. And he passed me some beads, and obviously I thanked him for them. And then it wasn't until I got home, I don't think, because Shabazz went one way and I went the other in that like brief moment. So there was obviously an appreciation and a massive thanks to him. But it wasn't until I got back and asked you two what they were that you told me what they were. Taspi?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Is
it Taspi beads or just Taspi?
Just Taspi, which are prayer beads, but they're used to remember God. So coming on to that, you don't believe in a God, do you?
No.
Tell us a bit about that then. What is it? What's your thought process with that?
just the fact that it's never been proven. I don't think it can be proven. I think there's scientific evidence to explain how humans and the land and animals and things have come to be here. My thing with religion is I can't get to this. You know, I've said it to you guys before. I can't believe in this higher power. However, I have a massive appreciation for people that have it. I don't particularly have a spiritual side either. But again, there must be, for me, I think there must be some comfort for people that do believe that in that time of absolute need, have something or somebody that they believe is all around them to be able to call upon for help. Now, I've never been able to be in that position. That's probably what stops me from stepping over to the mosque with you. Yes.
Yeah. And it's an interesting thing because fasting, especially, it's an act, we believe that it's an act of God consciousness to a degree, where you are thinking of that higher power, and you are doing it because he's watching over you. And what stops you having a drink, what stops you having something to eat, is the fact that the higher power for us is watching over us. So it's an important aspect for us. And it's something that means, obviously, you know, within the month, a lot more of being aware of our creator. So we'll discuss that hopefully in a later show, a bit more detail on going into that. But I think there's something else we wanted to discuss on this first ever episode of Chaiibucks, wasn't there?
Yeah, and we're going to have to be fairly quick because we are running out of time. But again, it's something that could bounce over if we need to. It's the use of derogatory terms. Now, we're in a bit of a whirlwind at the moment, aren't we, with people not being able to say certain things or do certain things. Some things that were deemed acceptable once a day, you know, saying boys and girls in front of a classroom of a school, you know, we're now at the point of, you know, where we might have to choose different pronouns for people as well. But bigger than that, there are certain words that should never have been said and should now never be said. And one of them that you two use together sometimes that still makes me feel uncomfortable. And it's the P word, the shortening of the word Pakistani, that I've only ever heard as a derogatory term to people. And I've never even now, I couldn't even, if you want me to say it now, I cannot, literally the word cannot roll off my tongue. What's your take? Because I know you've got differing views slightly on this, haven't you?
Yeah. Well,
what's your take on that?
We have. Well, my view on it is that it depends on which context it's said. And the word, well, Pakistan, the first word, Bagh actually means pure. Bagh actually means holy. Okay. But then the abbreviation is actually a abbreviation of Pakistan. Now, it all depends, as far as I'm concerned, is in what context that word is used. Now, that word, I'll go back, and I don't know if I should mention this or not, but yeah, I will do. There's a video that Prince Harry got into trouble about, and he was making a quick video about all his colleagues in the army, and he was saying, "Hello, this is." I'm going to say the word, okay, and I'll say the word in the way he said it as well. So he said, "Oh, you know, hey, this is Andy, this is Dave, this is Pete, this is Packy, this is John, this is, you know, so on, so on, so on." And he said it in an affectionate way, right? Now, I think there's a difference. And if he'd have said that in an aggressive way and picked him out, it would have been different. But maybe that's how they always call this guy. When I was at uni, we used to live with a guy. He was from a place called Blaenau in Wales. And he wanted us to call him Taffy, you know, and there was no other meaning as far as we're concerned to the word Taffy. He's called Meredith, and he was there, and to us, it was Taffy for 3 years. And there was nothing else. Now, if somebody ever said to him that word to him in an aggressive way, we'd have had his back, right? So it's an affectionate term sometimes. So that's where I think it is permissible. if it's said between friends, between close friends, where both of you are in on the conversation and are in and accepting of the banter. And when you get close to somebody, when you get close friends with somebody, you know what banter is, you know what's acceptable, and you know what an affectionate term is.
Yes, I'm quite similar with Phil on this, in the sense where I don't think I've ever used that word to anyone, and I think me and you, Shaz, we're quite close. I don't think I've ever even felt the need to even say, that word. It's just something that for me has a lot of negative connotations, and in those negative connotations, we know what they are. We know what context people have used them in the past. I've been called that word. I know some of the kids within the grassroots football club that we're part of have been called that word. And the reason they've been called that word is for someone to demean them and someone to make them feel they are not, from a certain place and don't belong in this country. And that's where I always feel that word should never be used. That word should, no matter who you are, no matter what affectionate term it's said in, it shouldn't be used within friends as well, just because of the fact that you are then making it acceptable to use. And even though some people would say it's just an abbreviation of Pakistan, but it's not just an abbreviation, and we know that. And we know that the context it's used in is to make someone feel you don't belong here, you're not from here. So that's what I'm with Phil. I don't think I've ever used the word to anyone, whoever they are, whether that's a friend or not. And I don't think it should ever be used by anyone or accepted by society. And the one thing that I want to finish on is, I've always felt sometimes things like this are taken too light-hearted, and people will just say, for example, this, said someone who's been in the media a lot, but it's banter. It's not banter at all, and it should never be regarded as banter, from my opinion.
Just a quick one to finish off, so I know we are running out of time. Do you think it gets lost in everything else though nowadays? Because we're getting to the point, aren't we? Do you think where it's just getting a little bit silly? There are so many things that you can't say now that actually, and so many things that change over the course of over such a short space of time, that I think people end up going, can we say that anymore? Can we not say that anymore? And this particular word isn't one of them. But do you think it gets lost in that sort of cycle?
Yeah, it does to a degree, but at the same time, I feel like, personally, from a person with heritage from South Asian, part of the world, it almost feels like sometimes we're easy targets when it comes to words like that. And the main reason I think that's something that's very separate to what you're just talking about there is because of the fact that it becomes so easy for someone to use sometimes as a joke. And that's why it should be for me, it's a racist term, and that is it. There's no other way of looking at it.
You're right, yes, it's not acceptable, but I don't think that anybody that uses it as a joke, right, that's unacceptable. Okay, anybody that uses it between very good friends. Look, I'm trying to differentiate now between the word that's made to be negative, that's made to demean somebody, right, and use a derogatory term too. And I'll give you an example. My little niece, right, when she was 3 years old, she had to wear glasses. Okay, and I ended up calling her Specs. All right, Specs, right, and that she ended up getting a nickname, Specky. Okay, now if anybody else had called her that, I'd get offended for her on her behalf. But nobody can stop anybody from calling anybody that you love, right, in an affectionate way, right? And that affectionate way, this is where the line is. And you're right, Yas, and I'm with you both on that. It's not acceptable in many conversations, in many situations, but I do think that an affectionate term is an affectionate term, and it's not meant to be derogatory in any way. But that doesn't mean to say that the word, that P word, is actually acceptable in any other context than as an affectionate term. So I accept what you guys are saying. There is no place for that word to be used in any other way, in any other context, in any way which is meant to be derogatory or insulting in any way.
Yeah. And one of the things that why it's being used currently, and I know, you know, it was used by KSI, who we had to explain to Shaz who KSI was. So it's good, mate. Honestly, you don't do social media, do you, Shaz?
I don't, I'm afraid. No, I don't.
And do you know what? There's a lot of beauty in that, lot to be admired in that as well. But one of the things I've seen very recently is the rise of people being able to say things that they want to say because of the current state of the world in terms of feeling like some people don't belong, feeling like some people should go back home and that sort of thing. So we've seen a rise in it again, and we need to nip it in the bud as quickly as possible. And I've certainly seen a rise of what Phil, you were touching on earlier, is more kind of hateful words that you can say to bring other people down, whoever that is, wherever they're from. And it all just, unfortunately, is being fueled by social media as well.
And I think for today, gents, we're going to leave that there because we're about to go into a bigger topic there that I think can be part of our second podcast, I think. So tune in next time because we're going to have me finishing Ramadan. So we're not going to be recording, boys. Don't worry, in the next 5 days or so. I'll let you have a week off, and then we'll move into what you think. What you think fuels that kind of hate? Yeah. So go back, do a bit of research, boys, because it's your expertise. I'm just a glue that holds it all together.
Before we finish off, 2 things, mate.
Go on.
1, you have to join me in the mosque before the month finishes.
Okay.
2, I know we're doing an iftar together again in a couple of days' time, but one thing you have to do is join us on Eid Day. Have to do it, mate.
Right, okay.
And you have to be our guest on Eid Day. And
do we know when that is yet?
Don't get that's
Friday,
another.
No, we're not.
Friday or Saturday, but we're hoping it's Saturday because it makes it easier all round.
Ours is I follow Saudi, we follow Saudi, and it looks like it's going to be Friday. We're not getting into that. We can do on a separate.
We'll do that
topic,
next time.
But do that next time definitely because we could be here all day. But yeah, so whichever day it is. At the same time, Eid is a bit similar where it can last a few days. So whichever day it is, whether it's Friday, Saturday or Sunday, one of those days, you're joining us for some good old Eid food and family as well. So you and Henry and anyone else you want, mate. So you're more than welcome.
That'll do for me. Shaz, thanks for joining us. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Pleasure.
And we'll speak to you next time.
Thanks, mate.